Jesus said that he came to give you freedom. He wanted you to be free. He came to give you life, life in abundance. And that's right now. That's now. It's not just looking forward to sometime in the future. It's living life. If you were to say to a Jew at that time that, which he did, I came to give you life, it doesn't mean life in some other reality. It means the fullness of life, which is what we actually are created to grow and to experience. But this freedom, I really want to focus upon freedom. We can read so many places where he said, for instance, that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. He identified himself as the truth, and he is what makes us free. This truth that speaks to your identity, to your beloved, how beloved you are by the Father, that you can know God, because apart from Jesus, you can't know the Father. This is the thing that's revealed in there. He says, you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And John says that no one at any time has seen God except the only begotten Son. And Jesus came to reveal the Father. So what that means is when you think of God the Father, when you think of God, you can't see him as being different than Jesus. He's not. And this changes a lot of things because we have concepts and ideas about who God is and what he's like that differ from Jesus. And it's sort of like Jesus was the nice, friendly God, and God is mean, and he's holy and righteous, and he's the one that says kill the people. And there's all kinds of ideas and notions. But if you want to know what God is like, look at Jesus. And freedom, that's what I want to get to today, is freedom is central to understanding the role and the purpose of the incarnation of Jesus. He came to free us. In Romans, he speaks of freeing you from sin. He has paid off, he has paid the debt that we had, that we are no longer slaves to sin. In the letter to the Galatians, the Apostle Paul is writing and saying, why are you going back? Why are you trying to go back into bondage when you were set free? And he is connecting very specifically bondage, and he's using the old covenant, the law, religion as bondage, and you are free. And he is telling you in this letter that you are an heir. Now, at the beginning of chapter 4, he makes it clear that just because you're an heir doesn't mean that you don't need instruction to learn how to do things. But he's drawing a distinction between being free, which is what the heir actually is, may still need to be taught, yes, but is free and is going to inherit, versus a slave or a servant, which will not inherit. And he breaks this down in chapter 4 when he talks about Hagar and Sarah. One is the bondwoman and one is the free woman. And this is a really important point. And he's making the clarification in that, through that Israel, the old covenant, was a servant relationship. And this shows up elsewhere. Hosea 2:16, for instance, he said, you won't call me my master, you're going to call me my husband. He is saying you'll no longer be Hagar, but you get to be Sarah, which is the free woman. And so in chapter 5 of Galatians, in verse 1, he says, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty or the freedom by which Christ has made you free. So you're going to stand fast in that. Now, how do you do that? Well, you receive that freedom. You realize you are free, that you are an heir, that you are Sarah, not Hagar. You're not a servant. You are free. And we can talk a little bit about what free might mean. And he goes on in this verse. He says, stand fast in this freedom, and do not be entangled again with a yoke of bondage. And yoke of bondage is a way of describing being a servant. He just had gotten done speaking about Hagar versus Sarah. And you are of Sarah, not Hagar. You are a child, an heir of the free woman. You have freedom. And he says, so stand fast in that. Don't accept any kind of bondage. So when you look at it and you say, what I used to be and what I used to walk in, when I thought I was an enemy, when I thought I was separate, when I thought that I knew it all myself and could decide right and wrong, for me, it was bondage. When you have a religious notion, I must do this in order to be okay, it's bondage. Jesus has set you free. That is not your identity anymore. You are not a servant of God. He doesn't want you as a servant. He wants you as someone who is free, as an heir to inherit all that he has. Yes, he says, and this is again chapter 4 and verse 1 and 2, you're an heir, you have to learn how to handle that. But if you're a servant, you're never an heir. So the heir when he's young doesn't differ from a servant, still needs to be told and instructed how to do things. But he is the one, she is the one to inherit all things. And that's who you are. And that's the freedom. He says, stand fast in this freedom. Don't become a servant. So I'm saying a lot of different things, but one fundamental thing to leave this with is don't see yourself as merely a servant. Don't think, oh, I'm just a servant of God. No, God doesn't want you as a servant. He wants you, just like Abraham had Sarah, who was his, in essence, his equal, the free woman. Not there by bondage, but there in love, mutual submission. That's what God wants. You are free. You have this liberty in him as an heir. You're not a servant, and he doesn't want you to be a servant. And that's why he says, stand fast in the liberty by which Christ has made you free.